This isn't stained by someone in Minneapolis. It's still got a shine on it. And so do theirs. So do theirs. Stop treating us like animals and thugs, and start treating us with some respect. That's what we're here today to say. We've been left out of the conversation. We've been vilified. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Trying to make us embarrassed of our profession. 375 million interactions. Overwhelmingly positive. Nobody talks about all the police officers that were killed in the last week in the United States of America, and there were a number of them. We don't condone Minneapolis. We roundly reject what he did as disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not what we do. It's not what police officers do. Our legislators abandoned us. The press is vilifying us. Well, you know what, guys? I'm proud to be a cop. And I'm going to continue to be proud to be a cop until the day I retire. And that's all I have to say.
Something frontin' niggas knew you from your past. Got all kinds of guys saying we go way back. And who y'all comparing me to is nonsense. Show gratitude in the presence of dominance.
I think they're scared of us, yeah. I think they're scared of us. I think they're scared of us, yeah.
Someone in Minneapolis. It's still got a shine on it. And so do theirs. So do theirs. Stop treating us like animals and thugs, and start treating us with some respect. That's what we're here today to say. We've been left out of the conversation. We've been vilified. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Trying to make us embarrassed of our profession.
Just want to touch base on this subject real quick. The struggle for dominance. I put this up here and just to show you just a basic understanding of the cycles of civilization, basically. It's just the basic cycles. So you got a new dynasty claims the mandate of heaven, means the authority of the people, meaning legitimacy. Okay, we're dealing with government because it's legitimate to us. We call the police, we ask for their help, they are legitimized. After several generations, they become aging dynasty, they become neglects government duties, ignores corrupt officials. We're trying to get our claims for justice. These people aren't doing it right. They begin to decay, and they're not, fixing the infrastructure. They're destroying, letting stuff just go bad. This aging dynasty or legitimized government, it loses the mandate of people. It's not legitimate. The people don't look at it as legitimate anymore. Okay, and that was happening in the 60s, definitely, because white people are the dynasty that we're talking about today, white America, and they're losing legitimacy. So all of these problems are arising. The natural disasters, we're not able to handle them. Okay, famines, people are starving. You got all these homeless folks out here on the streets. Okay, so you got invasions, armed bandits. So you got all of these immigrants coming in, and you can't keep the laws. Can't keep the laws respectable. Peasant revolts. So black folks right now, we're the so-called peasants of this particular society. We're revolting as a group. And all of these problems are blamed on the aging dynasty. And this dynasty is white supremacy at this moment, okay? Which is not, white folks are not supreme, but this is what they wanted to name their thing. They wanted to name their basic religion, white supremacy. All right, the new dynasty, which is the black people. They restore peace. This is where we're needing to push to this point. So right now, we're on the bottom left. Problems arise, natural disasters, famines, COVID-19, loss of farmland, this is the point where we're at in 2020. And we're pushing to the new dynasty. So the conversations that we're having is about the struggle for dominance. And so I wanted to get that kind of cleared up and just touch base with. I had a conversation with, a really pretty good conversation with the family earlier, with on the brother B.M.T's channel, Business Minded Talk, and we had several good, intelligent, smart black people who were offering their perspectives on what we're dealing with as a community, as a black community. And I'm going to call it black. I'll take liberty and I'll define everybody as black people. And because that's what they are. And black means original. We have the power to define. Okay? We have the power to use language and define language. So at the end of this particular part of the conversation, I did get cut off because of some technical difficulties. I'm going to try to answer the discussion right here. So let's see if we could let's see if we can go back to this.
To be made. I don't know. To see different results.
Gotcha. JI, you want to go ahead and give us a redo?
Yeah, with the different questions, it comes down to, somebody posted in the chat what I was going to say. The crime is defined by the powers that be. That's what I said earlier in a different response. The people that are in charge define what right and wrong is and what crime is, because they have the ability to punish or reward behavior. That's really all that it is. So with the black on black dysfunction, we're paying a penalty for instead of working together, and there are reasons, granted, why we have not. But instead of working together to build our own system within this or to combat the system, we've just gone along with it. So we continue to be punished by it. But if we made our own system, then we wouldn't have to be subjugated to these laws that we're in. But as long as we play by those rules, then they get to determine what the fittest is. It goes back to even the crack and cocaine sentencing disparities. Sentencing disparities. These things are not about right and wrong. Laws are not about right and wrong. They are needed to govern a society, but the people in charge always have their own agenda. So if the question is, do we need to destroy each other to find the apex people, throw away at the bottom of us? We could if we're trying to acquiesce to the system, but a better response, because we'll never be able to go but so far within a system, would be to work together to create our own system. And whatever that looks like or whatever we have to sacrifice to do so, that will be the only way. That truly would be the best way instead of trying to adapt within something that's not going to fully allow you to do so or only let you go so far. And they've proven time and time again that that is the case. So I'll leave it at that.
in that situation. And the question is black on black crime and dysfunction and survival of the fittest. So when we're dealing with survival of the fittest, you know, in this context, we have to look at who is the fittest. What level of competition do we want to engage in? Okay, if we're still dealing with a legitimate dynasty, which we're not, I argue that we're not dealing with a legitimate dynasty because under the system of white supremacy, we are the peasants, and our job is not to remain in such a status. Okay, and you will always remain as a group in that kind of status because in the white supremacist system, you must behave. They organize. That's what laws are. The laws and rules of a governing society are crafted in order to maintain its power. They get to reward and they get to punish. Okay, but there is no dominance above universal law. And sometimes it's very difficult for people to understand what laws are based on universal law and what laws are based on just the existing dynasty, just to maintain its particular dominance. Okay, so that point is our struggle, in which I did agree with JR. Our struggle is against the dominance of the white supremacy systems. Okay, and the black on black crime is they determined it as a crime, and they use this as a bludgeon because there's no black on black crime. Crime is determined by, they have determined what is crime and what is not crime. And they do that in order to protect themselves and protect their society, but at also the power that they have to use to determine what crime is, they use that to keep us in a subservient status as a group, a black group. So you're talking about apex, people, you know, that will allow you a certain percentage of apex people. And if black folks realize that as soon as we begin to get benefit, the situation of white supremacist society, they will basically, outright destroy you. And then when you realize, and then you'll cry to their justice system because they destroyed you and they disobeyed their own crime laws. And what happens is they just, tell you shut up and start trying it again, and we're sorry, and that's it. And then you have to start all over again, okay? Because the bottom line is the whole point in their thing is they cannot see, they are competing against us as a group, and we're trying to integrate our behavior as individuals. We're trying to be a part of their group. If we're dealing with dogs, The way dogs compete for dominance, they want to have the most mates, they want to fight each other. If we're dealing with humans, the human being, the greatest power of the human being is our minds. You know, our abilities to organize. That is the power of the human being. So who are we competing against? You know, you know, the human being, our power is the mind. The human mind is the greatest level of power. So what we're doing is we're competing against another group of human beings to be able to outthink them. And what these people have done, they've used science, they've used mathematics, they use their ability to lie, deceive, confuse. This is how they're competing against us. The ability to educate, the ability to make laws and rules. And, you know, our group is struggling for dominance in that. Okay. And so, you know, there is all crime, you know, there's always, if you want to, you, if you want to label something a crime, you know, the only law that is absolute is universal law. There is no laws that, you know, this is the reason why we can compete against them, because we're competing in the context of universal law. There is no elite past God, and all systems of organization, you know, that comes from intelligence. And this is another reason why you know there's a God, because you can't, you know, I can't take, you know, this cell phone, you know, I can't take this cell phone and just take all the parts of the cell phone, all the atoms, turn them into dust, put it in a maybe a can or a bottle, and then shake that bottle up and randomly organize these molecules in order to recreate this cell phone on random. The organization of these atoms is a sign of intelligence. And the more sophisticated that organization is, the more sophisticated the intelligence. Anytime you see systems, any kind of systems, this is a clear indication of an intelligence. Okay, and that's just the bottom line. And that lets you know. I mean, we can argue that you're not gonna, there is a system within universal law. If you see a hole that was, you know, a fox probably dug it, some type of animal probably dug that. You can tell. There's certain organized things that we can tell that there's intelligence. And so when we're talking about dominance, our ability to compete for dominance at the level that we're talking about, for the level of success that we want, it forces us to compete as a group against white supremacists. This here, this is white supremacists. What they did is they used their group to enslave a large group of people, which is us, and we are the result of that. So we are their primary opposition, because the law of the universe says if you don't kill something, it's going to survive and it's going to overcome the oppressor. So that's the reason why we are the primary target for opposition. And these type of books, these white American books, these books that they come up with, is their struggle over various periods of time in order to continue to maintain dominance over us, because they know we're coming. And once we overtake them, then what ends up happening is this section comes, the new dynasty. They enter up, they restore peace. See? Because what happens is when you have volatile moments, you have two groups that are gaining power, and now the old group is and the new group is near same levels of power. And so you have that period of conflict. But once that new group overcomes that old group, then there's a peace again. You see? And so this is the point in time that we're in. And so just like JR said, if we look at many of the comments that we, heard, or people that talked, the bottom line is, we we are struggling for dominance, and we are not seeing the old dynasty as legitimate, because we see that these people are militating against us. They even attack your testosterone. They found that, your testosterone is in a society, the more, basically, the testosterone increases as oppression increases. And so, these are, so they can reward and punish. If they reward, they give you, if they punish you, then it can increase your antisocial behavior, high testosterone. But if they reward behaviors with high testosterone, they can increase the social behavior. So basically, it's going to ramp up whatever behaviors you want to encourage, or it will also increase the behaviors of people who are looking to unseat you. So this is real science. This is stuff that we need to know, and these kind of educations, and we have not been subjected to, because the bottom line is this group wants to continue to maintain its dominance over us. So, black on black crime, we're confused. They're confusing us. We have to create our own criteria for crime. We have to create our own criteria for crime. There is black on black crime, but it's any behaviors that restrict our ability to compete with the white supremacists. That is a crime, and those crimes happen. Okay. So I think that's all I'm going to put on here right now, and yeah, I might add to this video later, but that's the bottom line. That's the response to that. All right, peace.
Of my grandfather. My grandfather, who grew up in the segregated South, segregated Mississippi at that, never, ever blamed white people. You never heard the phrase, well, the white man. You never heard, well, white people. I did not grow up with that language. And for me, that was extraordinary, given one story Big Daddy would tell again and again. It was the story of his father, Benjamin, my great-grandfather. Now, Benjamin was a merchant, and Benjamin would go to the supply truck when it came to his small little town in Mississippi to get supplies for his store like everybody else. Until one day, a white man stopped my great-grandfather, and he said, "Boy, don't you come here. Don't you know you're not supposed to be here? You don't come here when we're here. Don't you come here no more. You wait until we're finished, then you come here." So what does my great-grandfather do? When the supply truck came again, so did my great-grandfather. And he came again and again and again, until one time. And this is how my Big Daddy tells it. He said, "Stephanie, when my father got up to leave, they shot him in the back. Stephanie, they shot my father dead. I had so much anger in me, I thought it was gonna burst. I knew I had to get that anger out of me, but I didn't know how to do it. And then one day, I figured it out. I said to myself, I'm gonna get me a shotgun and I'm gonna kill that man who killed my father." So Big Daddy got that shotgun. And Big Daddy found that man. And this is what he told me. He said, "Stephanie, that man, was living in an old shack. Stephanie, that man didn't have any teeth in his mouth. That man was living far worse than I had ever lived. That man was already being punished. And for me, that shaped who I am today. Because Big Daddy understood it wasn't a white man who killed his father. It was an ill-thought-out, fear-based cultural structure called Jim Crow.